Well, hello everybody and welcome to episode 41 of the Classic Rock Podcast. For those about to pod, we salute you. This is our first show of 2023, so Matt and I are going to take you through a whistle-stop tour of all of the magical moments of 2022, and hopefully by the end of the show, we might have decided who our favourite album is, and a few other things. Yep. As usual, you can find us on all of the social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. What's our handle again, Matt?
At FTAT Pod, Brian.
Excellent. And there he is.
You should know by now.
I should know by now. Me and Elon Musk are just like that. We must be. We're Anyway, here he is, my co-captain for another year and another episode, Mr. Matt Rogers. Hello, Matthew. Happy New Year.
Hello, Brian. Yes, Happy New Year to you. HNY.
Oh, we're still doing that. HNY.
HNY. I used to work with a guy. It just popped into my head. He used to wish people a Happy New Year in like March. That's a bit excessive. I think give it a couple of weeks and that's enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, Happy New Year to you. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I had a lovely Christmas. My first Christmas in Ireland for 2 years. It was fantastic.
Oh, very good.
Got to see my mummy and got to play some live music with some friends as well too. It was very good. And was Santa good to you?
Very, very, very good this year. Thank you. Yeah, what is good actually? I got a few books. Now, as you know, I'm a very prolific reader. We talked about this quite a lot. I'll get through 3 or 4 books a year, so pretty much got the year covered coming up, and it was good actually. Because my wife, this is true actually, I think, allegedly, I got a book, the Rob Halford book called Biblical from my wife, which is nice. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh yeah, I got inspiration from the podcast. She doesn't talk like that, obviously, but she did say that. And I thought, that's nice. But then I thought, really? Have you been talking to Brian? Getting ideas from him? But I haven't started yet. I'm on Brian Johnson's book at the moment, which I got for Christmas from my children, which is nice.
It's a good read, isn't it? It's good.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good. But I'm actually working because one of my New Year's resolutions, Brian, is to do some more impersonations other than, people based in the West Midlands like Tony Iommi and Brian Tatler and so on. So I've decided to work on a few new impersonations. One of them might be Brian Johnson. So watch this space.
I look forward to it. I will try and wheedle Brian Johnson related news in every show then.
Well, that's true actually. We've got some coming up. How about you? Did you get any nice Christmas presents? Was Santa good to you?
Santa was very good to me. I got lots. I too received a book, Matthew.
Did you?
Well,
yes.
I think I was pretty rubbish because I bought myself a couple of books for Christmas. So I did buy myself the Brian Johnson book. I bought Bono's book, lead singer from U2. I haven't started reading it yet. But
Bono. Thanks for specifying. It was that Bono, the lead singer of U2.
Well,
as opposed to the Morocco goalkeeper's book, the story of the 2022 World Cup. What could have been? But
the book that I'm actually reading at the moment is the book that you got me, which was the Conversations, which was Eruption Conversations with Eddie Van Halen, written by Brad Tolinsky, which is really good. It's just a kind of a relationship that Brad and Chris Gill had with Eddie, and it just goes to through the various chapters. I really enjoyed the period of reading when Gary Sharon joined the band, and Ray Daniels became the manager of Van Halen as well too. Ray Daniels has famously always managed Rush, and he managed Extreme. So when Gary Sharon had the audition for Extreme, I thought, do you know what, Matt? I'm going to have to go back and give Van Halen. I didn't give it a fair shout in the day. I went back and listened to it, and I thought, I've got much more wider taste music. Yeah, I listen to a lot more now. I'll go back and listen to Van Halen 3.
And
it's still No.
No. Oh well. At least you tried.
I
you
tried.
You can't do more than that.
I tried. It just Gary Sharon's a great singer with Extreme, and Eddie Van Halen is, and it just didn't mesh for me as an album. But I thought I'll try. So Christmas was good.
Very good. I'm pleased to hear it. Pleased, and Happy New Year to everyone that's listening at the moment, whether it's January or March, or indeed if it's 5 years' time. Happy New Year 2028. So, Brian, what has caught your eye recently?
Well, there's loads of bands are making statements. Seems to be some good statements, some interesting statements, and some
vague statements.
Vague statement. That's very true. Vague statement. So I suppose the first one which I wanted to mention was, and I was really pleased when I read this. It gave me a warm glow when the Foo Fighters put their statement out on New Year's Eve. Really to say that obviously they've taken time to mourn Taylor Hawkins' passing, but they've decided that they're going to continue as a band. I think they said that they will be a different band following Taylor's passing, but that we will see them all soon. And I think what was nice was we will see them quite soon. So I guess, knowing how prolific that the Foos are, I can imagine that they've probably, they'll probably maybe go out and do some dates with a new drummer, and then get back in a recording studio, because I think I forget the fact that last year in January they released their last album, and it was Grammy nominated and won awards. So I was really chuffed about that. I'm really chuffed that the Foos have decided to keep going, because that they're a great band, and to see them keep going is brilliant.
No, it's good news. That is good news. And as you and I discussed in the context of the Taylor Hawkins tribute gig, they did audition quite a few potential drummers. However, as is always the case, my money's on Mike Portnoy. And we'll come on to more Mike Portnoy news later. For those who don't know who Mike Portnoy is, by the way, he's an amazing drummer. He's like a virtuoso drummer. I know most people listen to this will know who Mike Portnoy is, but just in case you don't, he's a virtuoso drummer. Played with Dream Theater, plays with Winery Dogs, and also Transatlantic, Brian, who have also made a statement.
Yes, this is the one which is vague.
I'm there for a link.
Oh, you are. So Transatlantic toured on the back of their album The Absolute Universe last year, and they played a one show in London, and they've recorded a live album called The Final Flight in France and Olympia. And Mike put a statement out, I think it was today, saying that it's likely, end of an era, and it's likely to be the last album that comes out from the band. So I think the possibilities of Transatlantic recording again, or touring in the near future, I think they're just probably putting the band to bed for a while. But they did this before. They went away for something like 12 years, so it probably nice little bookends a chapter in the band's career, and they can always come back to it because they're a fantastic band. So I was a little bit sad with that, but it means, to be fair, Mike's no time. Mike's going to be out touring with the Winery Dogs all of next year, and if their new album, which comes out in February, is anything as good as the single Xanadu, which isn't, as you said on the last podcast, man. It's not the Olivia Newton-John cover.
No, I was quite disappointed about that, actually. But I still put both on the old playlist, so just to cover, hedge my bets.
Yes, exactly.
Talking of bands making statements and taking kind of breaks or hiatuses, if that's the right expression. Inglorious today, literally today, have said we're taking a break, kind of almost an indefinite break. As we know, Nathan James, we talked about Nathan James. In fact, you and I have met him. He's a monster of a guy. He's lovely.
Fabulous.
He's a big cuddly bear of a guy. And got some great pictures of him and my wife. He took a shine to my wife, actually. We met him at Steelhouse a few years ago, which was lovely. He's a good guy. But anyway, he's having a break from Inglorious because he's got a lot going on. He's on the current single with Sophie Lloyd. He's with Iconic, of course. He's doing some other work. I think he's one of these people that's always in demand. He did the War of the Worlds stuff and so on. So Inglorious, who I like, I've followed them from the early days. Actually, good band. Seen them a few times. And we saw them in the summer, of course.
They were great at Steelhouse. I wasn't convinced by them before that. And he sang Barracuda, and it was
oh god, fantastic. Great voice, great guy. Yeah. So, Inglorious, they're taking a bit of a break. So, but at least they haven't called it a day, which is good.
Yes.
And the guys in the band are so talented, I'm sure. And as the statement said, they're going to sort of pick up and do other things in the interim. So, Brian, not Sir Brian Maylie, but it's Sir Brian May. I know. Were you disappointed about it? Did you think it was going to be? Did you think it was you?
I thought
when you saw the kind of the headline on the BBC website saying Brian M.A. and you thought, is it me? Is knighted?
Yeah.
Is it me for services to guitar purchasing and podcasting?
And yes.
Did you think it was you?
I did think it was me, but then obviously, whenever he said, and for recording the theme tune for Starfleet. I thought, well, I didn't do that. Brian May did that.
No, Sir Brian May, and we congratulate the great Brian May, Dr. Brian May, on his knighthood.
Where did you hear that from? Who told you that?
Well, I'd like to say it was Tony Iommi told me, but it was actually I read it on the BBC website or saw it on TV or something. I don't know. I know. Well, talking of Tony Iommi, the great Tony Iommi, we love Tony Iommi in this show.
He had a great 2022. The rest of the world went, it was like 2022 for us was just an episode of Game of Thrones. It was like everything was going wrong, But Tony had a good year.
Yeah, he's a sweetie, isn't he? The godfather of metal, as we've. We don't. It's not just us that refers to him as the godfather of metal. I am the godfather of metal. I can't help it. I had a great year. He's got he's building a studio,
yes,
in his house, which is nice. Now you and I work from our back rooms, as it were, in this context, laughingly called an office, with all sorts of stuff around. There's an exercise bike over here, by the way, and some records over there and everything. But he's building a studio in his house. That must be great. And he's going to work on some music next year, which would be fantastic. Because he has been quite active. He contributed, as we know, we talked about it, a couple of songs on the Aussie album.
Yes. Which is great.
Which may or may not be your or my album of the year. Because we're going to do that, aren't we? Later,
we are going to do that.
You didn't mention in the intro that we're going to do a review of 2022. We're going to look forward to 2023. Mm-hmm. We don't spend too much time on the old news. We're going to also touch upon 1997.
Yeah.
A mere 25 years ago.
Yeah.
No, hang on. A mere 26 years ago now. We've tipped into 2023. Where's the time gone, Brian? Where's the time gone?
I know.
What else are we doing? That's it, isn't it, really?
That is.
Anyway, we wish you well, Tony. We wish you well, Brian May. Congratulations.
I did look at buying. I actually priced. Do you know when we were talking about the Tony Iommi fragrances at the time?
Yes. Oh, I remember that era. Yeah, it's fantastic. Good old Tony Iommi's.
Did you ever see how much it cost?
Hundreds, wasn't it? It was expensive, wasn't it?
You can tell whenever you use Google or whichever browsing service that you may use.
I'm web crawler still, and occasionally Ask Jeeves I use.
Do you? Good for you, David.
I'm old school.
You are very, very good. And so I browsed.
Spit it out, son. Come on.
So I looked at it, and of course, the first thing that comes up when you go into the shop, and it goes Harrods.com, and you're thinking, "Oh, this isn't going to be cheap."
Oh dear.
£236.
Really? I bet it smells good though. Do you remember it was the smell of heavy metal, wasn't it?
It was the smell.
Do you remember we talked about that? And we did sort of think about getting one just to sort of see what it's like. Maybe you should get Frontiers Records to buy one for you, seeing as you're so friendly with them.
I must. Do you know what? For fun, sometime, Matt, I'm gonna get some Frontiers merch, and I'm just gonna wear it and just go, and see if you'll notice it, and you'll go, are you bloody sponsored by Frontier Records now?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that.
Exactly.
Right. So anyway, so that was the news. Is that news?
That's news.
That's all. That's all we got.
Yeah, that's all we got.
So last time, I gave you the year 1997.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem that long ago, does it? But it was 26 years ago. If you kind of obviously add in the fact that we're now in 2023. 26 years ago, Brian.
I know.
Wow. What were you doing? Were you university in 97? You must have been, surely.
No, I wasn't. I had left. I was working now.
Oh, you'd left.
I was
you'd left.
I was working for the man.
Oh.
I was paying the man the taxes. So 1997. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? Just cutting sideways. We haven't talked about the kids for a while, have we?
No.
Have you heard from them? Doing all right?
The kids are doing great. Do you know the problem with the kids are? It was all right. It was all right when the kids were streaming music and downloading music. Now the kids are buying vinyl all over the place. All my friends' flats are coming down with Taylor Swift albums all over the place.
Is that right?
Yeah. Vinyl's on the comeback. So the kids need to stop being like us, Matthew, and just going back to streaming and treating music that it's free. I'm only joking. I'm only kidding.
And they're putting the price of vinyl up, which so kids, if you're listening, go back to streaming. Go back on your phones.
Yeah, can't
right.
afford
Anyway,
it.
so 1997, Brian. Talk us through it.
1997. What a seminal year in rock, Matthew. Black Sabbath, the original Black Sabbath with Ozzy, Bill, Geezer, and Tony, who we had earlier on in the show. Mm-hmm. They reformed in 97 and they did a couple of sold out shows, which was later put out under the title of Reunion. And I love that album. It's really good. I enjoyed that album. And then it all went Pete Tong and Bill Ward never got back into the band, which is a real shame. And then the other scale of musical silliness, the good old Spice Girls in the UK were taking over the world, and I
remember that.
Yeah, and they were the only band apart from the Beatles to have two albums in the Billboard top 10 in the 1 year. It was something silly, you know. Right. So that's where we were, and we lost Michael Hutchence in 1997, which is a shame. One of those bands, INXS, which I never got to see. INXS would love to have seen them. So those are some of the events of 97. Music wise, what an eclectic year for music. In 1997, I'm gonna kick off with probably one of the albums of the decade, probably of the 20th century, which would be OK Computer, Matt. I think you would have had that on your list as well too.
Absolutely, love that album.
It is just
a lot of people are not big Radiohead fans. Indeed, there's quite a few people that are not keen on the album, but I think it's a masterpiece.
It is, and when you top it off, it's for those people who listen to the podcast who have got BBC iPlayer. If you haven't watched it, if you go onto the Glastonbury section on the BBC iPlayer, there's actually there's the performance of Radiohead at Glastonbury in 97, and for many people, they see that Radiohead show as being one of the iconic headlining shows of any band. I've got a recording of it, and I've got it's a great album and a great live. And I know, even speaking to or listening to conversations with Dave Grohl, when Dave Grohl talks about favorite bands and favorite live live events, Radiohead are up there for him. So great band, and OK Computer kind of blew the scene apart. We were all living this Britpop, Supergrass, Blur, Oasis thing, and Radiohead just took it to another dimension. And safer ground, or more hard rock, classic rock, Reef brought out the Glow album which had the track "Place Your Hands" on it, which is a great single, and still sounding good. Reef, even today.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Mike Portnoy earlier in the podcast. Yes, that's Matt pretending to go round 57 toms. In fact, he's still going. Yeah, he'll finish about 12 minutes time. Yeah.
Yes.
So Dream Theater released the album Falling Into Infinity. Matt, on the playlist, please put the track Lines in the Sand. The guest vocalist on that track is Mr. Douglas Pinnock from King's X, and it's a little short ditty lasting 12 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But it's a great album, one of Dream Theater's classics, and yeah, I love that album. Sammy Hagar, we talked about Van Halen a little bit earlier on. Sammy brought out a solo. He was in that period of recording with Van Halen. Van Halen had done the Balance album, which was great, toured it, and then he brought out in '97 the Marching to Mars album, which recently wasn't available on streaming services, etc. I think it's now available. It's, for me, the strongest of all Sammy's solo albums before he got involved with Circle and the Wabaritos and that kind of stuff. As a solo album, it's great. You've got the title track itself and Both Sides Now, which is not the Joni Mitchell cover. It's his own song. A really strong album. Another album I'll mention is, I love this band, Cry of Love. This is second album from them called Diamond and Debris. We'll put a couple of tracks on the playlist. And the final album, Matt, a band that we've mentioned on and off on the show. I'm a big fan of them. Often get associated with No Album as well too, which is Mama's Boys. Mama's Boys were a 3-piece band. We Tommy, Pat, and John McManus. We lost Tommy McManus, who was the drummer, the youngest brother. He passed away from leukemia, and the two brothers decided to record an album in tribute to him. It's a very Irish clannad, not rocky at all, and they went under the name of Celtus, and it was an album that was which was called Moonchild. So those are some of the albums, Matt, I would just pick out from '97. Great, really eclectic, diverse year for '97. I could have gone into some Supergrass, some Blur. There was a lot of great music around '97. So 1997, Matt, for you, how was it musically for you?
It was good. It was good. It's a good year. Good year for albums. But it's hard to top OK Computer. It's just as a masterpiece, fantastic piece of work. But Aerosmith brought out 9 Lives, which you'll know it, right? Even if you don't know it, it's got some great songs in it. Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees is on it. Pink. It's
a great single. They were nominated for they won a Grammy Award that year for Best Rock Performance for that track. Yeah.
Do you know that off the top of your head? Because the trivia, you should do. I'll tell you what. For 2023, you should consider doing a rock podcast because you'd be good with all this knowledge, this non-Googled knowledge that you have.
God bless Wikipedia.
Indeed. So that was 9 Lives. Word Gets Round by Stereophonics. That's a great album. Got some great songs on. They're still in their live set today. 1,000 Trees, Local Boy in a Photograph. Good songs on that. Gigs wise, I only went to one, apparently, according to Setlist FM and my memory. And that was on the day that the Labour Party won the election and Tony Blair was elected Prime Minister. And that one, I went to see the Tragically Hip in London. We talked about it a few times. Who are Canadian rock royalty. And I think I was the only English person in the whole gig at the Shepherd's Bush Empire. It was a good gig from what I remember. Lots of backpackers. I seem to recall lots of people with backpacks on, which a few episodes ago we did gig do's and don'ts. Please don't wear a backpack to a gig. Come on. Or on the tube. In fact, anywhere apart from when you're hiking
up a hill.
Up the Cairngorms.
Yes.
Up a hill. Other hills are available. Is that the Cairngorms hills?
Well, they're mountains.
The mountains. Okay, mountains, hills. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I was
that was
equally-
1997.
I was equally as light as you in gigs. I only when I went to Setlist FM, I had Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and Adrian Legg. Do you remember in the 90s? And they kept doing it through the 2000s. The G3 tour.
No, I remember it. Yeah, I went to one at the Albert Hall. Yeah, it's good.
Did you? I went to see Steve Vai. Didn't really know anything about Joe Satriani, and Joe Satriani just blew me away. I was like, wow. He was fantastic.
Well, you play a little bit of guitar, don't you? I mean, you're not very good, but you play a little bit of guitar. And so you must have got a bit of inspiration from him, I suppose, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't. Not inspiration enough to go out and buy a chrome Ibanez guitar and shave my head. I appreciated him from afar.
That came later.
That came later. Yeah, I had no choice in that, Matthew. Nature took its course.
Yeah.
But that was really good. The only other couple of bands that of note in that year, I went to see Delamitri, a band that we've not mentioned that much on the show. But Delamitri live, they were promoting their album, which is some other Suckers Parade, which is really good. But when they played live, they were kind of a bit Stonesy, Humble Pie Faces. They're quite a rocky band when you saw Delamitri. Great songwriting, and probably my favourite gig of 1997. And I'm almost certain we've mentioned this on the show before. I went to see Marillion at the Redcar Cotham Bowl when they were on the Strange Engine tour, and Steve Hogarth's keyboard of choice was built into a cricket bat.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he was pressing buttons on his cricket bat to set off sounds on his keyboards. Yeah. So
I imagine what's it called? The Redcar Bowl.
Yeah.
Is that a very big venue? It sounds like it's quite a small.
It's quite a small venue. Yeah. That was like a club, like a workingman's club, all, velvet round. It was like really insulated, beautiful sound. I walked into it and it felt like, a workingman's club type thing. It was great.
Very good.
That was 97.
So that was nice. Yeah. Sounds good.
And I will give you
yes
2014.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
And that's the 90s done.
I know.
We've dodged Oasis, Kula Shaker, The Prodigy, the KLF.
Oh, man. All good in their own right.
Yeah.
Just in case of listening.
Yeah.
But there you go. Right. So Brian, this brings us to our review of 2022. It's a good year.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's good fun. You and I got to hang out quite a lot. I enjoyed that, which is nice. I can tell by your lack of response that you weren't so keen, but I enjoyed it.
It was fab.
So what was your outstanding moment of the year, Brian?
My outstanding. I think the event of the year for me, which had wonderful magical moments. It was like a celebration box. Was the broadcast of the Taylor Hawkins Memorial Concert in London. I kind of thought we were all pulling for Dave and the rest of the band. I think we can't forget that Taylor was also a member of a band. I know he was best mates with Dave, but Nate and Chris Shiflett had been in a band with him for nearly 20 years. So for me, the event of the year for me was the Taylor Hawkins show. I thought it was done so tastefully well. And the moments, let's be honest, you and I we were in communication through WhatsApp and texting during the show. and we had a few moments, should we say?
Oh yeah.
Swear words were used.
Yeah, indeed.
And Rush got back together.
Oh my God, what a moment! That was fantastic. That was just spine tinglingly good. If you're a Rush fan, it was magical. I mean, there's a lot of people like, oh, Rush, rubbish. I can't stand them. My wife being one of them, for example. But it was just great. It was just beautiful, and they did did a similar set at the US version, and it was just fantastic.
And they publicly paid tribute to Neil.
Exactly, that was great,
which was lovely. Wolfgang Van Halen.
Oh man, that's just. Well, you and I talked about it at the time, and just that little piece he did with Dave Grohl playing bass and Justin Hawkins singing was just unbelievable. Who was playing the drums with them?
Josh Freese,
of course it was. Yeah. It was just it's just jaw dropping, wasn't it?
It was, and he's a bass player.
I know exactly, but clearly he can play the guitar as well, as we know from the solo album and recent gigs. But that little segment that he did, those Van Halen songs that he pulled out were just fantastic, weren't they? That was just I'm with you. That was probably the event, and indeed probably the moments of the year for me.
Yeah, agreed. So
on a personal level, one of the funniest things, one of the coolest things, I suppose you could say, and when the universe works in a strange way. I was at Download and I bumped into a guy called Nige. I just kept chatting to a guy at Download. I mean, you know me, Brian. I'm I'm a shrinking violet. Really, I don't like talking to people. I'm a very antisocial. I'm not very good at kind of socializing. But I got talking to Nige Benyon, and he's in a band called Untamed Silence, and we ended up, just hanging out with him and interviewing them for our first and probably, for now, only interview version of this podcast. But that was just amazing. And then I recommended that he got in touch with a guy from Planet Rock, and he got a gig playing at the Planet Rock Festival in a few weeks' time, actually, which we wish them well for, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was just one of those moments where you think, as I say, the universe works in a strange way sometimes. That was good. So, Brian, gigs of the year. What were your favourite gigs that you went to?
Started off brilliantly last year. I can remember because we were still coming out of the COVID situation. Do you wear masks? Do you not wear masks? I
remember it well.
Yeah. Started the year off brilliantly with the Dust Coda and Smith Kotzen. That was one of my earliest gigs of the year, and I really enjoyed it. I was quite. I think one of my New Year's resolutions will be make sure that I'm there for the support bands, because I really enjoyed the Dust Coda. Thought they were great. So Smith Kotzen was fantastic. London was my home for gigs. When I think of probably the three iconic big gigs I went to of 2022. May, I spent 2 nights at Royal Albert Hall. I got to see Bryan Adams. Brian did 3 night residency where he played 3 older albums, peppered it with hits. We've talked about it in previous shows. I did 2 shows. Our friends John and Sue, they did all 3 nights. But to see Bryan Adams play at top of his powers over 3 nights in a row, that was fantastic. I loved Pearl Jam over the 2 nights at Hyde Park. And just with the supporting bands, Matt, we watched Pearl Jam on a Saturday evening supported by the Stereophonics. And the Stereophonics just knocked it out of the park, and Pearl Jam came on and did what they did. And then I finished off the trio of the London events or shows. Porcupine Tree, after 12 years away, their album, which is one of my contenders, is one of my contenders for album of the year. closure and confirmation. But to see Porcupine Tree play one show in front of whatever Wembley Arena holds, and the sound and the visuals, it's phenomenal. So those are my three standout gigs. In the arenas, in the sheds. But a little mention to Jeff Tate when we went to see them in Bannerman's.
I know, it was great, wasn't it?
Fabulous. And I went to see Simon McBride play in Bannerman's. Genuinely with my pal ahead, we went. If there was 20 of us there to see Simon McBride, and now Simon McBride finishes the year as the permanent guitar player in Deep Purple, filling arenas and stadiums and stuff. So it's been a brilliant year, and we haven't even touched on festivals. I hope you're going to touch on maybe some of the festivals. Those are some of the years.
Yeah, well, because we had a couple of barren years in terms of gigs, and I think we made up for it this year. You're absolutely right. I'd forgotten about Smith Kotzen. My New Year's resolution is not to leave before the end of the actual kind of gig, because as you remember, I missed Nico McBride from Maiden coming on and jamming with Smith Kotzen. You're right. Pearl Jam was fantastic. A great day in London. Pearl Jam, Steelhouse was just a fantastic weekend. I remember at the time we thought top to bottom the bill was fantastic, and most of us saw most of the bill. Some of us who shall remain nameless spent some periods in their tent having a siesta and missing. You missed Heat, wasn't it?
Yes.
Who have got one of the great albums of the year. I just got to touch on them real quick. So that was good. Steelhouse good. Download, as I went to Download, a great day there. Saw Maiden headlining, fantastic. And we went to the Stone Dead Festival for the first time. Now that was good, wasn't it? That's a great festival. And basically, we're saying if you listen to this, trust us. Go to these festivals. They're so good. They need our support. Steelhouse, Stone Dead, Download, maybe not so much, but just go. It's fantastic. It's a great day out, great weekend. Whatever you choose to do, check it out next year. Enjoy yourself. And there's so many festivals to choose from, of course, around the country. All need our support.
Yeah.
Just a couple of others that stand out. I went to Ibiza for another festival. That was fun. With my wife and some friends of ours, Matt and Hannah. That was a lot of fun. Saw some great bands there, some new bands, some established bands. Just so good. And then topped it off a couple of weeks ago with Water Bridge, Hailstorm, and Wolfgang Van Halen. But for me, seeing Diamond Head 3 times in 12 months, and personally throwing my denim jacket on stage and the singer put it on mid-gig, it's got to be the icing on the cake for me in 2022. So those are the gigs of the year, Brian. How about songs of the year? We'll come to the albums a bit later. Songs of the year. Have you got any?
My Brian's bangers for 2022.
Careful.
I'm going to go for the track that I've probably had the most. This is the wonderful thing of Spotify. You know the way when it gives you Wrapped for 2022, Matt. One of the tracks of the rock tracks I was listening to, my favorite track off King's X's album, Three Sides of One, is a track called Watcher. Watcher is probably the standout track on the King's X album, and it's one where I know when I really like an album or a track when I get my guitar out straight away, Matt, and I'm going, I've got to learn this now. I've got to learn this now, and then I find it's in some weird tuning and I don't know how to play it. But my first track of the year would be Watcher by King's X.
Okay. That was a good album, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
King's X album. Even I liked it.
Hey!
Okay, yeah, it's a good shout. We talk about Def Leppard quite a lot on the old podcast, and I have to say, from the album Diamond Star Halos, the song "Take What You Want" is
Killer.
a real. It's a throwback to the kind of hysteria era Def Leppard, and for me, the standout song from a really, really good album, in as I say, Diamond Star Halos by Def Leppard. But so take what you want. Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Another track which, from an album that doesn't make my top 5 albums, but I think it's a killer song, is from the band Ghost. From their new album, Impera. So it's track 2, and it's Kaiserion. It's a very I love how I just love the production on the album. It's just they've kind of got that gothic pop rock thing going, and when you just listen to the there's a sort of, they call it prelude. You get that nice music stuff, and then the riffs kick in. Kaiserion's one of the standout tracks from so Ghost would be Kaiserion would probably be my second track of the year.
Very good, very good. Yeah, well, Ghost is one of those bands that kind of creep up on you a little bit, aren't they? Because the more you hear, the more you think, I actually like this band.
Yeah.
And the same for me is Hailstorm, who I saw a few weeks ago with Waterbridge, and they had an album this year, Back from the Dead. But the standout song for me was a song called Mine. So check out a song called Mine by Hailstorm. That's one of my songs of the year.
Okay.
You heard that song, Bri?
No.
I think you. Well, it's funny because you and I, when we both saw that tour, and you mentioned at the time that she, in some places she's got a great voice.
Yes.
Lizzie Hale.
Yeah.
She can scream. She can do the kind of low register stuff. But as you say, in the mid range, she does sound a bit like early 80s Pat Benatar.
Yes.
And on the song Mine is a perfect example. And they did do a few songs on the tour from the new album, which is well worth checking out. So from the album Back from the Dead, check out a song called Mine, Mine. Not there's any other way of spelling mine, of course.
There's not really, is there? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I know you could. Could you not go MEIGN?
Possibly. Anyway, Mine
yes.
by Hailstorm. That's you, Brian.
Okay.
We're getting to close to number 1 now, aren't we?
We
It's
are.
exciting, isn't it?
Song
of the year.
Song of the year for me is from the Porcupine Tree album. Closure and Confirmation, which is a big contender for my album of the year. Mm-hmm. It's the second track of the album. It's a track called Of the New Day.
Wow.
It is just sublime is the best way I can describe it. It's Porcupine Tree are known for their, they get Gavin Harrison playing drums and Stephen Wilson can do and all this. As Matt goes round the 57 toms, yep, he can do all of that. He can do all of that. Yeah, they've got so much musical chops and they could do whatever. And it's just a lovely, simple, melancholic pop song. And I have listened to it loads. It just puts me in a very nice, chilled mood. And it's just one of my tracks of the year from one of my albums of the year. So the track for the playlist is called Of the New Day by Porcupine Tree. And your track of the year, Matthew? Well,
it was a clear winner, actually. I saw this band download earlier in the year, Shinedown. And I've seen them a few times over the years, and they are really good. They've just been in the UK on a tour. I didn't see this time at a clash of dates, but certainly we'll see them again. And they had an album out this year called Planet Zero. And the song for me, by a mile, is a song called Dysfunctional You. Check it out. It's a very clever, very interesting song. Lyrically amazing. And I just love this song. When you can't get enough of a song, you just, like the old days, you just turn it over, play it again, whatever we did back in the day. But yeah, check out Dysfunctional You, my song of the year by the fantastic Shinedown.
Fabulous. Yeah, I'm warming to Shinedown. You know, Shinedown are going to be another Alter Bridge for me. You're going to love them for years, and then there's going to be a couple of songs which I'm just going to go, I get it now. Right, okay, I've got it. You know, I'm not just there yet, but you know, great songwriters, and he's a brilliant singer.
Quick notable mentions, Brian. Song of the year. I've got one. I just want to mention very, very quickly.
Go ahead.
A fantastic band called Dare. Now, you'll be very familiar with Dare, Brian. Had a great album out this year called Road to Eden, fronted by Darren Wharton, who is as I said, Brian will know, he was the keyboard player in Thin Lizzy for a few years. And the song I have to pick out is called Born in the Storm. Oh, my God, what a good song. And if Dare are actually touring this year in the UK, check them out on a 3-band bill with FM and Taiketo. I'm going to London. You're probably going to Glasgow, Edinburgh, Brian. So yeah, check out a song called "Born in the Storm." You got a notable mention, Brian? The song of the year?
No, because it'll probably give away my album of the year, which I'm keeping as a surprise.
Okay, alrighty. So that brings us, therefore, to the album of the year in our humble opinions. What you got for us, Brian? Give us your top 2 or 3.
Top 2 or 3 albums. Okay. So, having professed throughout probably 10 of the episodes of 2022, I've got my album of the year. I brought it down. I brought it down to a few albums, and I actually went back and listened during Christmas, Matt. I had listened to quite a few of the albums to see, you know, because it was such a strong year. Notable mentions for me, and we've kind of talked a couple of mentions. The Def Leppard album is a return to form with Diamond Star Halos. It's pretty good. The King's X album, Three Sides of One, is a very, very, very well produced album. It's an album that King's X fans have been waiting for some time. It's not a classic for me yet. And therefore wasn't my album of the year, but a notable mention. The Porcupine Tree album was really good. I loved the Lonely Robot album, which was called A Model Life. John Mitchell, who is he's kind of Lonely Robot, but other people will know him as the guitarist and singer who replaced Frank Dunnery in It Bites, and he plays guitar in Frost, and he also plays guitar only in Arena. He's a bit of a prog. He's a bit like He's the English guitarist version of Mike Portnoy. You know, yeah. We're just waiting for a project where Mike Portnoy and John Mitchell get together. You know, so John's album Lonely Robot was very, very good, and the Chili Peppers album Unlimited Love, which I gave a lot of love to at the early part of the year, it is a really good album. But I'm happy to say, Matt, that my album of the year is Eddie Vedder's Earthling.
Wow, good shout.
I didn't give it a much love at the time when it came out, and it came out in February of last year, and I think we had lots of albums coming out. And as I've listened through it throughout the year, it's got touches of the 80s. It's not going down that Pearl Jam grungy guitar-y. It's got orchestras. It's just such a wonderfully crafted album. And when I come back and listen to it every time, I hear something different. And, you know, the 2 tracks that just set out for me, I would have given it away by saying Long Way or Invincible, which is the title track, or which is the lead-off track. But Eddie Vedder's album, as much as I wanted to go, King's X is great, King's X's album is not in the same orbit as Eddie Vedder's. So Earthling for me would be my album of the year, Matt.
Very good.
How about you then?
Great shout. Well, that's on my list for sure. We talked about that back in the early part of last year.
You did. You were a big fan of that album.
Yeah, I love Eddie Vedder. Fantastic singer and a top man. So, Brian, you touched on a few. There was some great albums. It was a very, very, as you say, very strong year. And the Eddie Vedder album, fantastic. We mentioned Planet Zero by Shinedown. Check it out. Great album. triggered by Massive Wagons. As you touched upon, Diamonds Are Halos by Def Leppard, a real return to form for them. But my album of the year, and I think I mentioned it at the time, and I've stuck with my selection, is Belly of the Beast by Joe Lynn Turner. Top to bottom, an absolute cracker of an album. Songs like, well, the title track, Black Sun, Tortured Soul, Requiem. Just check it out. Fantastic. You won't be disappointed.
I'm not surprised, Matt. I know that when it came out, you were a big fan of it. And it's good to see that, Joe at 71 years of age, since the alopecia and the no longer wearing the wigs. I think he still wears his wigs for now and again when it feels like it. Yeah. But I think people are just are starting to, on the back of this album, are probably going, my goodness, Joe can be relevant. And I hope he never tours the UK.
No.
He does.
Love to see him play this.
Yeah.
Love to see him play here.
Yeah.
If not, we'll have to go and watch him in America, Brian. We've talked about it. We'll have to go to the States, see Joe Lynn Turner, do the podcast from the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's on the bucket list, my friend.
It's a
dream.
It's a dream.
Right. So, what are you looking forward to next year, Brian? Or rather, this year, 2023.
23. What am I looking forward to? I am looking forward to. First of all, I'm looking forward to the Winery Dogs album coming out in February. That'll be good. The Transatlantic live album will be coming out in Feb as well too, which will be fantastic. There's a few albums which are in the pipeline which are yet to be confirmed, but I think this is going to be interesting. Paul Rodgers a couple of years ago teased a Bad Company album, and I'm hearing vibes that there could be a Bad Company album this year. Great. A Lemmy solo album, which has been recorded, could be released this year. And
posthumously, of course.
Yes. And a Kinks reunion album with, Ray and Dave Davis. So there's a few, let's just say, legacy act releases which are coming out this year. Gigs wise, looking forward to, for a lot of the festivals you and I have got, we'll do Steelhouse, we'll do Stone Dead. You've mentioned we'll do Motley Crue and Def Leppard. I'm going to see Kiss for the first time, which I'm really excited to go and see.
Fantastic.
I never thought I'd get to see them. And I think they'll bring a strong bill with them. The undercard for Kiss. That's if they do that. And I don't know if Kiss do support bands or whatever. Iron Maiden, we'll both go and see Iron Maiden, and they're playing an era of Iron Maiden, which is the Somewhere in Time album. Stranger in a Strange Land. That's a period of Maiden I love, which they don't do much stuff from. And finally, I get to see Peter Gabriel.
Yep. He's out next year, isn't he? Well, this year. I keep saying next year. It's this year, of course, isn't it?
And
fantastic.
And the one wish that I hope for a gig that I don't have tickets for, which we've been talking about since probably podcast number 1, is I do hope that Judas Priest and Ozzy fans get a chance to see either band in the UK. I'm hopeful of that'll happen, because I think fans, and you're included in that, have waited an awful long time to see that, and it would be nice if it happens. I'm really hoping that Ozzy's fit enough to tour. Is probably my big wish.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I thought you were going to say we're looking forward to a potential AC/DC gig or tour, which, of course, I think it goes without saying, from episode 1 and probably episode -1 and beyond, we were looking forward to. But we shall see about that. Brian Johnson recently has been fairly non-committal when asked by Eddie Trunk as to whether there'll be anything AC/DC related next year. Keep saying next year. This year in 2023. You can forgive me for that. I mean, it's early January.
Absolutely.
This, of course. For me, Dirty Honey touring in early January or in January. I'm going to see them with a couple of friends of mine. Hello, Richard. Hello, Kelvin. That'll be good. Looking forward to that. Metallica have got a new album coming out, 72 Seasons. We talked about that last time. As you said, Ozzy and Priest, hopefully at long last, 5 years on or 4 years on from buying the tickets, they'll be out this year. Potentially a new Mammoth WVH album. I know that Wolf is either in the studio or he's in post-production. Anyway, potentially there might be, fingers crossed, a new Mammoth WVH album. There's a new Those Damn Crows album coming out in February, which we're looking forward to, Inhale, Exhale. A couple of songs off that have been out, have been fantastic. Quite a sort of quite different from their kind of first couple of albums. So I'm looking forward to that for that reason. And the aforementioned Judas Priest have got a follow-up in the can, we believe, to the 2018 brilliant album that was Firepower. So hopefully the new album from them will be as good, if not better, than Firepower. It's funny because last year we talked about a few things that we were looking forward to. For example, Geddy Lee's autobiography, which never came out, and also Bruce Dickinson's solo album, which didn't come out. So I guess we're, by definition, looking forward to those as well this coming year.
Yeah.
Hopefully 2023 will be as good musically as 2022 was. So, Brian, that brings us. We got a bit carried away with the old retrospective and the forward view. We have to, of course, have the usual features.
Hidden Gem Time.
Thank you, Lola. Happy New Year to you and your family, of course. So, Brian, what you got for us?
So, when I was looking at the new releases for 2023, there was a little band and a singer in a band, a former singer of Great White called Terry Lewis. Now, Terry Lewis also was a singer in a great glam metal band in the 1980s, late 80s, called XYZ. And my hidden gem for this episode is the debut album from XYZ called XYZ, self-titled. It's got some great tracks on it. My favourite track, and I can remember, we talked about this in other episodes, where when we used to buy magazines or we subscribed to, I bought Kerrang! Was it Raw or Raw Power? Raw Power was the TV. Yeah.
I think it was called Raw.
Raw. So I had Raw. I sometimes bought Metal Hammer, but that was maybe a bit too heavy for me. I can remember buying Raw, and they had the FlexiDisc single. And the FlexiDisc single had a track from XYZ called Nice Day to Dive. So stick that on the playlist. And Terry has just announced that XYZ will be releasing some new material in 2023, which me and probably about 4 people in the UK will be excited about. So XYZ's debut album is my hidden gem for this episode.
Hidden gem. You forgot the feature then, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
41 episodes in. It's called Hidden Gem Time.
And what about you, young man?
Well, if you will allow me, I have 2.
Oh,
but you'll appreciate both of them. First one's a film/documentary, which was recommended to me, actually. I can't remember who by. One of our many listeners. How many up to now, Brian? 12, 14? 15?
I think we're at 14.
Oh, still 14.
Still 14.
Hovering at 14, which is nice. Thank you, all 14 of you. It's actually a really, really interesting documentary film. It's called Traveling Band, story of Creedence Clearwater Revival. And it's their European tour, I think of about 1969, 70. where they were on a crest of a wave, really. But the way it's filmed, it's quite modern. It's a kind of very modern feel to it, even though it was filmed in the late 60s. And it's obviously got interviews with the members of the band and sort of behind the scenes stuff, hotels, and kind of centerpiece is a gig they did at London, the Royal Albert Hall in London. So check it out. My hidden gem number 1. I'm going to indulge myself for a change.
I was just going to say, with all of the shenanigans, if I can use that phrase, Matt,
yes,
that's going on in the world of Journey at the moment between Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain, everybody countersuing and everybody because they want to look at bank accounts and all this kind of stuff. Creedence Clearwater wiped the floor with in band stuff whenever John Fogerty is being sued for plagiarizing himself. Because he didn't that period of in that documentary, I think they didn't have their manager, basically, allegedly. We don't want to get sued on this podcast, but I think they didn't have much business support when they were signing the contracts, and basically they signed all of their music and the music rights to the manager. So whenever John Fogerty went solo, he was sued for plagiarizing it, sounding like himself. So the manager sounded him like. So it's a crazy tale of CCR. At that point in time, were the biggest band in the world. So it's a great documentary. Yeah. Really good.
Absolutely.
Good show. Good show.
Really good. Worth checking out. And then just one more, and you'd like this because there's a Thin Lizzy link to it. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier, you do know there's a Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous multi-CD box set coming out. We should have mentioned that in the news. You remember a couple of years ago, did the UFO Strange in the Night?
Yes.
Greatest live album ever. Multi-box set.
In your opinion, Matthew, in your opinion.
IMHO. HMY. Anyway, so where are we? Anyway, so yes, this album is my next hidden gem. Is from a band I saw a few weeks ago at this outdoor indoor festival I mentioned, Planet Rockstock, and it's a band called Grand Slam, and it's their 2019 album, which is called Hit the Ground, and they did some songs from it, and I checked out the album. It's really good. Songs like 19, Military Man, the title track I mentioned earlier, Sisters of Mercy. So check out Hit the Ground by Grand Slam. So what is the Thin Lizzy link, of course, with Grand Slam, Brian, for us non-anoraks?
So...
you know?
Yeah, I do, of course. So whenever Thin Lizzy split up, Phil...
I know you'd know.
Exactly. So it was the first band that Phil put together with Phil after Thin Lizzy split up, disbanded. Brian Downey joined it for a small period of time, but the main thread that goes through to Grand Slam present day is Lawrence Archer. So Lawrence is the main guitar player with his wonderfully yellow flying V, looking very much like Michael Schenker in the day. And he also has a UFO connection. Lawrence was in UFO for a little while.
That's right.
But Lawrence actually wrote quite a lot of the material. So things like Sisters of Mercy, Phil Lynott used to call it Sisters of Murphy. You've got Harlem. So they did a lot of the material that's on that Grand Slam album. Phil Lynott and the band couldn't get signed. They never got signed to record the album, and then Phil passed away. So it's a nice opportunity for Lawrence to kind of go out on his own and get some recognition for the songs that he helped write. Great album. Yep. We saw them at the back of I certainly saw them at the back of a truck at Rambling Man.
Yeah, I think I might have done as well, actually.
Yeah. It's a good album.
Memory.
It's good. And recording album number 2 at the moment. And Lawrence is actually He's crowdfunding for his first solo album as well too. So lots of activity on the Grand Slam front at the moment.
Yeah, check it out. I actually saw them. I've got a degree, Brian. There's a few people that don't realise that I've actually got a degree. I talk about your 15 years at university, but I went to what is now the University of Hertfordshire, and they played there with Phil Lynott, but in about 1984, 3, whenever it was. Yeah, good album. Check it out. Hit the Ground by Grand Slam. So that's it, Brian. End of the first episode of the new year, 2023. Looking forward to it. We'd like to thank everyone for listening. Happy New Year to everyone, of course. Wish you well, health, wealth, happiness for the forthcoming 12 months. Enjoy yourselves. Go and see some gigs. As Brian said earlier, check out some support bands. Stay to the end of gigs. Don't miss the special guests coming on. And just take care of yourselves.
Happy New Year, everybody. We will catch you all on the next episode. Keep on rocking. See you now. Bye.
That's Bad Pod. We Salute You is a Maylie Rogers production.